Hi guys, welcome back to Friends and Enemas. I'm in a very special studio right now. This is my friend Sarah Gray's studio. I don't know if you recognize her. You might know her as Sue Dillon, the prankster.
Hi, honey.
And she invited me into her home, which I'm so thankful for. But I wanted to let you guys know more about Sarah and kind of how she came to be Sue Dillon. We'll go into more things about her as well. But you're a nurse, first and foremost. Can you tell us a little bit about that and then how Sue Dillon came to be?
Sure. So yes, I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for 5 years now. Not super long, but
Me too.
a little bit. You've been, it's 5 years?
5 years this year. Yeah.
Wow. You seem like you've been one for so much longer.
Thank you, because I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
That's
Sometimes I'm like, I've only been a nurse for 5 years, so I'm closer to new grad. I feel like than like seasoned nurse. You know?
Yeah, I feel that same way. Like, I feel like I'm in the middle. Like, there's some things I'm really confident about, and then there's some things I'm like, gosh.
I'm like, don't ask.
Yeah.
Please don't ask me.
I think that's normal, though. I think
Yeah.
that's everybody.
I think
really.
so too. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a nurse. I started prank calling after becoming a nurse. It just kind of randomly happened for me, and I just kind of seized the opportunity
Yeah.
when it came about. But I'll tell you the first time if you want to know.
Yeah.
The first prank call we did was with my father-in-law.
Okay.
And I had just started a new job in Chattanooga and worked with a bunch of old hags. I hope that they see this too. Y'all are mean. Like bully nurses.
I feel like we've all worked with old hags though, you know, and like in their defense, they'll say some of the new grads are the bullies and vice versa. And I'm sure there's a little bit of both, but
yeah,
the seasoned nurses, I'm like, you don't have to be old. It's the seasoned nurses. Some of them are mean.
They are.
For no damn reason except that someone was mean to them.
Right.
So they just pass it on.
Exactly right. I tried not to be that way. I think I will be that way if I'm approached first with an attitude.
Yeah, no, same. I'm the same.
But I try to be the change we need.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But I just had a bad day. It was hard. It was stressful moving to a new area. Me and my husband had just got married. He also had a really hard job and stressful things happening at his work. So we were like, let's just do something, like cut the edge off of the day. And we prank called his dad, who is so gullible. The most gullible man I've ever met. Like, I could probably call him now with the same voice and he wouldn't remember.
What?
Like, it's just...
He would fall for it again.
He would. He would. But we prank called him and told him he won a lifetime supply of Marlboro Reds. He's always been a very big substance use person, especially cigarettes. So he was like, oh my God. Yes. And I didn't even know my TikTok was public. Like, I wasn't seeking TikTok fame at all, but
you're just having fun.
I was just having fun, and it blew up, and we just kept doing them with his family, and then we did all of his family, and then I kind of turned it into a little business. So now I sell prank calls, and people will like submit orders for their families and friends, or people that they don't really like that they know.
They're honestly hilarious.
Thank you.
That's how you came across my For You page as Sue Dillon. So that's how I first came to know you. And then as I started going through your page, I kind of creeped on you and I realized, wait, you're a freaking nurse too? Like, that is hilarious. And I don't know if you get some of this hate, but some people don't understand that, like, we have to laugh or we're going to scream.
Yeah.
Type thing. So I think that's what you've done with your page. Like, you're making jokes out of harmless things.
Thank you.
It's very harmless and it makes me laugh. One of my best friends is obsessed with you as well. And
our blushing.
Our favorite thing is when you're on live. Seriously, there's some of the funniest. I'm not just saying that because I'm with you right now. You're one of the funniest comedians I've ever met. You're very witty, spot on, like
thank you.
Quick on your feet. Because I'm like, how did she come up with that? How did she just say the stuff that you say? I'm like, what? Like, you're very funny.
Thank you.
It's very deserving.
That means a lot to me. It really does. Because sometimes I'm like, I get in my head, I'm like, this is so bad.
No, I don't think so.
I'm embarrassing myself, but I keep doing it.
I feel you though on that. Like, when I first started TikTok, I did it the same thing. I was like, I just want to post on here. I was burnt out already as like a 2-year-old nurse. It was the midst of COVID. I was like, you know what? I just want to make some funny content. And I didn't know how TikTok worked. I actually made some content that was not appropriate for TikTok. It was more like break room talk versus for the masses. And I didn't realize that the masses would see it type thing. And then once I understood TikTok, I was like, oh, okay. Like, sometimes you have to be a little careful with what you say, but at the same time, we're humans.
Yeah.
And like we're trying to laugh so we don't scream or do something worse.
Exactly.
And I don't know, we see a lot of hard stuff. Going back to your nurse, you told me you're a SANE nurse. Will you want to tell us a little bit more about that, how you got into that?
I actually started it when I moved with my husband initially, and I just needed a new job, and I also worked in a PACU. That's the job I was talking about, where it was like really a stressful environment. The easiest job I've ever had, but a stressful environment due to the coworkers.
Yeah.
But I was also a SANE there, and then I just continued doing it because I love it so much. I don't really love what I have to see.
Sure.
But I love the impact. Like, it's the only job I've ever had, really, that I feel like I make a big difference as a nurse. I feel like we kind of are, or at least I feel like I've been in a rut on certain units. Like, you see the same people come back, you see the same things happen all the time, you see people die because of the same mistakes, and it can be really, really hard. And I kind of gotten into this rut feeling like I'm just here, just a body. I'm not making a difference, which is kind of
like burnout. It is. It's burnout. I feel like burnout comes in so many different ways too. Before we jump over, SANE, for those of you that don't know, is sexual assault nurse examiner. So that's like a hard job in itself, obviously.
It is. It's a very sensitive population, and it's really high stakes, and you have to be like really emotionally available, and it's really hard, but I think that the reward makes it worth it.
Yeah, because you are making a difference in someone's life.
Yeah.
And obviously it's never their fault, which sometimes with patients, I feel like I'm an ICU nurse. And I've just recently started to feel sometimes like it's hard because there's not enough education. There's not enough help for the patients in the first place before they get to the spot they're in.
Yeah.
But then they're in like a really tough spot, and it's like, it's hard to see it every day sometimes. Whether they bring it upon themselves or not, like it's not fair a lot of the times.
It isn't. It makes you really angry.
It makes you angry. And it's like, at who? I don't really know, but I'm angry sometimes.
Yeah.
But burnout is like such a huge topic, obviously, within our field. And like you said, sometimes it's not even the patient population that's burning us out. It's our environment. It's like the coworkers. For me, a lot of the time, it is the coworkers.
Same.
It's like there are units that are not like that.
There are.
It's hard to find sometimes, and it feels like they don't exist sometimes.
Yeah.
But I've worked on several of them, and I'm like, oh, okay, I could actually become staff here and like be happy here in that aspect.
Yeah.
I don't know. How do you feel about that?
I feel the same way. I feel like my first job, there were certain people that were like the unit bullies, but overall, it was a good environment, and I missed that job so much. But I just had to move on for my own career choices.
Right.
But I do miss that, and I think about it all the time because of the people.
Yeah.
Because like that's what was the appeal, and it really does make a world of a difference. Like if you can find a good unit with good people, and you even have like the shittiest job, like I don't know.
You're like in it together. You're in the shit together. So like it does. I always joke about the whole like if they say we're a family, like it's a red flag. But at the same time, sometimes it is kind of family oriented with the right crowd, and it makes your job just way easier.
Yeah.
So you've been a nurse for 5 years. You said that you started. Did you start in ICU?
I did.
You've kind of bounced around a bit.
Yeah, I did. I and it's been a short amount of time, but I think I just wanted to find my like perfect thing, and I don't really think I have yet. But I mean, I'm happy.
Yeah,
so that's the end goal. But I was a burn ICU nurse when I started.
Oh, okay.
And I was actually a wound care tech there during nursing school.
Yeah.
So I just was really into that. I really love wounds.
I do too. I like that stuff a lot.
I love that job. It was, and we were all kind of trauma bonded together there. Like you just see so much like hard stuff, and then you kind of like build relationships with your coworkers.
Yeah.
But then I moved with my husband, became a PACU nurse, and then a SANE there, and then moved again because we just hated it there. So we only stayed there for like 9 months.
Yeah.
So I had to move and change jobs again. But I stayed a SANE nurse, and then I got a job at a psych hospital because I was in psych NP school. So I was like, I have some psych experience from my first job because it's a traumatic experience. And then, patients wake up and they're like, what happened to me? And it's like very traumatic for them. And so like PTSD, anxiety, all that stuff, had to deal with that as a nurse there. And so I just really liked that part of it, like more so than the ICU part, because I'm a very anxious person. And I don't think I was a bad ICU nurse. I think I was really good.
Yeah.
But I was nervous all the time. And it came home with me. And so I was like, I want to go back to school, but I think if I was a CRNA, it would still make me so nervous. And I was like, I don't want to live my life in stress and anxiety.
Like with your cortisol levels just high all the time.
I wish I could. They make great money.
Yeah.
No, that wasn't for me.
I get that. And the only reason I brought up like you moved around a lot is I get a lot of questions from nurses that are, or, you know, new grads that are like, but I've only been here 3 months, 6 months. I know I don't like it. I know I don't want to be here. I'm like, then move.
Yeah, leave.
Leave the unit. It's totally okay. And some people like hate that I say that. They're like, they should wait at least 2 years. Not if you know in your core, your heart, your soul, like that's not for you. Some people know that. It's like, you don't have to stay just because.
Follow your gut. Yeah.
Follow your gut.
I stayed at my first job for a couple of years, and I loved the job, so that makes sense. But I moved around because I was unhappy, like at the psych hospital. It was a good experience, but after I stayed my contract to get that sign-on bonus and not have to give it back, I was like, bye.
Yeah,
just because the environment wasn't good. It was sad. Like, I don't like the way psych hospitals are set up, which is a big part of why I continued to do my psych in P school. I really want to be part of the change that needs to happen in healthcare.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm going to do that yet, but I want to do something, like, because it's just terrible. Like, psych hospital is a terrible environment.
I've only been to a psych hospital in my clinical, and it was actually one of the most interesting clinicals I ever had.
It's very interesting.
But also one of the, hard, because, like, people, it's sad with the stuff that some people have to deal with. But you said, you mentioned, like, you want to make a difference. You are making a difference, obviously. You are making one, especially, like, for people to laugh at home. But then knowing that you want to make a difference, I don't know. I feel like the people that are like, I want to make a difference, you're probably already making some sort of difference.
That's true. I think that you get a little jaded and you think you're not. But I'm sure you are doing something. Yeah,
you are doing something, whether it be to one person or many. You're changing someone's life. But you told me, did you want to go into nursing from the very beginning? Did something happen to you? Was there anything that made you want to go into healthcare, or did you just do it?
I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I graduated high school.
Same.
But I've always loved helping people.
Yeah.
And my grandma is a nurse. And so I've always looked up to my grandma. She's like one of my favorite people. And so I was like, well, grandma does it and she does a great job and she makes good money. And so I was like, job security. So I was like, this is a good degree to get.
Yeah.
I kind of changed my degree a couple of times when like the first year, like I really like writing. And so I was an English major and I was like, what am I going to do with this? So I was like, no, we're going back to nursing. And then I was like, but maybe I could be a doctor. So I changed it to pre-med and I was like, oh, I'm not taking calculus. Back to nursing.
That's me too. I'm like, the math portion and some of the science, like organic biomed or something, absolutely not.
No.
I'm not going to pass that. I just know I'm not.
No. Yeah, exactly. So I stuck with nursing and I really liked the challenge of nursing school and like at the same time hated it. But
yeah,
I really like a challenge and it felt very accomplished.
Yeah.
And, I do enjoy being a nurse. Like I love the hustle. I miss that hustle. I don't really work bedside anymore, but I miss that hustle of like, oh, we got 2 or 3 patients. They have meds due. That person's got an NG tube. I got to crush on, like, just and the drips and like just keep it. And that person just shat the bed. Let's go clean them. Like just the rush.
That's literally something I bring up all the time. Is that when I went to college as well, I was pre-vet major for like 4 years. Then I realized I can't stand the way people treat their animals and bring them in, all the things that come with that.
Yeah,
I was like, I don't want to do that. So then I moved over to geology randomly. Then I stopped that and I moved several majors until I took a break. I was a nurse tech while taking a break. And I was like, wait a second, these exact same thing, job security, they make decent money. You can always make more if you want to pick up.
Yeah.
There's several ways, like there's...
Shh. No.
I hear it too, Frankie.
What is that noise?
What is that? Sounds like a howl or something.
It's okay.
Who is that? What is it? There's just so many options with nursing. So, like, that's why I went into it, too. It wasn't necessarily because, like, I had this passion when I was younger. And I've had several things happen with family members with going to the hospital. But that was never the reason I went into nursing. But earlier you had told me, before we got on here, you had told me a little bit of... Earlier, you had told me a little bit about your own mental health background. Would you want to go into that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. Nursing school kind of sent me into a spiral, actually.
That happens to a lot of us.
Yeah. I've always had anxiety.
Yeah.
And I have some childhood trauma, so like stuff will trigger my anxiety.
Yeah, same.
But I don't know. But in nursing school, the stress got to me, like the end of the whole thing. Like I think it was my second to last semester, or it was either my last semester. I can't remember at this point, but it was the end. And the teachers were just like mean. Yeah. They've always like, why are there so many bullies? I don't know.
But I know they're all throughout nursing. It's weird.
They make it seem like you're not going to pass. Mm-hmm. And so that really got to me. And I'm a perfectionist. So I like studied. I didn't have really much of a life unless I was like out getting blackout drunk on the weekends with my friends.
That was your vice.
That was what I did. And then I would go back to studying all the time. Had no like balance.
Yeah.
So I was driving myself crazy. So the anxiety is what sent me to the doctor. Like I had one test where I was just sitting there and my heart rate was up to like 200 and I was about to faint. Like I don't know how I didn't faint.
Yeah.
It was probably not, maybe it wasn't quite that high, but that's what the Apple Watch said.
It was still high.
Yeah. But after that I was like, this isn't normal, I don't think, so I'm going to go to the doctor. And I didn't have like a psychiatrist to go to in the area because it was kind of a rural area where I was going to school.
Yeah. And
so I went to this primary care provider and he just put me on some antidepressant and said go to therapy, which the therapy was good. I did go to therapy and did some EMDR, which was good.
Oh yeah.
But the meds, so I would go back. Usually now that I know more, I'm like, why did he do this? But he started me on such a high dose of, I don't remember which one I was on first because he changed it like 4 times in such a short time span. But it was one of the like SSRIs, and he put me on a high dose, which you're supposed to go slow with people with anxiety, but you do need a higher dose in the end to control anxiety.
Sure.
But you should go slow, very slow, especially with someone that's young. Like I was like 20 years old, and I'd never been on anything. So I just didn't feel good. It kind of made me feel worse. And he just kept on changing or increasing the dose. And it got to a point where I was a different person. I feel like I was so anxious, more so than I was before, but like not for tests.
Yeah.
Like I just didn't give a shit, but at the same time I was so like ramped up.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I started making like impulsive decisions more so than ever, like risky behaviors.
Oh.
And I was like, when I first started my psych and P stuff, I was like, when we were learning about antidepressants and how if you have bipolar disorder, that can do that to you if you start them without like mood stabilizing first. But I was like, do I have bipolar? But I was like, no, I think he just started me way too high and it made my anxiety worse. But anyway, he just didn't know what he was doing, throwing me on whatever meds, and it really derailed my life. Like there was this ex-boyfriend from high school that cheated on me, and I was like trying to get back with him and like stuff I wouldn't do.
Yeah.
And he was cheating on his girlfriend with me and I didn't know.
It's always those boys. It's always, I mean, I have similar stories too, but I feel like we all have that at least one toxic ex.
Yes. I have a few. But, she like walked in on us. It was so bad. And it was traumatizing. And after that, I was like, I'm going to kill myself.
Oh my God.
Like, I want to drive into traffic or something. Like, I want to drive off a bridge. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. But I just had no coping skills left.
Yeah.
Because I had all that and the meds were not right. And I think it was the meds, honestly. I don't think I would have done that if I was my normal self.
Yeah.
And it was all because of that primary care doctor, honestly, in my opinion, practicing out of his scope because he obviously didn't have the knowledge he needed to handle it right.
Yep.
My mom even went back there with me and chewed his ass because he just was such an asshole. Like she was like, she is not right. Like she's doing stuff that she wouldn't do. She feels worse. Like she's not eating. I couldn't swallow anything. Like it made me feel like I was going to throw up when I tried to eat. But I was just like not good. And I was about to drop out of school. Like I was just not, it was bad.
It just wasn't you.
And so I went to a psych, my mom sent me to a psych hospital just to get my meds stabilized. And because like I didn't feel safe, I just felt, I can't really describe it. Like I've never felt that bad.
Was it like an out of body experience as well?
Yeah.
Kind of watching yourself go through it?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I feel like it was the meds.
I think it was the meds too.
Yeah.
And also like the thought of cheating made me very disturbed. Like, cause that happened to me.
Yeah.
And I was very hurt by that, and to like inflict that kind of pain on another girl.
I mean, you didn't know though.
I didn't know.
You didn't know.
But
it's
I'm like,
different.
What could have, like, I had a hard time with, like, could I have done something to know? Like, could I have looked harder?
But that's not fair to do to yourself, like, especially after the fact. Like, there's nothing you can actually do to change it.
I agree at
so
this
it's
point.
like, yeah, but I understand what you're saying. Like, in the moment, you're like,
yeah,
what could I have done? Like, but that's kind of like self-sabotage too.
Exactly.
So you went to psych hospital.
I did, and it was a really country psych hospital. I don't know if they did much for me, but they did get me off that medicine and, like, put me on something different, which I ended up just quitting. I think they put me on Effexor, which is good for anxiety, but I just quit it. It was like, I don't know if you've ever taken Effexor.
I haven't. What's the other name for it? I don't
Venlafaxine.
No, I haven't taken that one.
But yeah, I just quit it cold turkey, and it's one of those you're supposed to, like, taper off of, and I had, like, the brain zaps and all that.
Yeah.
And that was crazy too, but I was like, I just don't think I need to be on meds. I think I just need, like, therapy.
Yeah.
And
that's like the great thing about, I feel like, I wish therapy was more accessible for everyone, obviously, because I think therapy is the number one thing that's helped me in my mental health. I had a very, like, similar experience after nursing school. It was actually after my childhood dog died, but it was right during nursing school, the end of my nursing school as well. I went through this, like, spiral, deep depression. I also had childhood trauma that I'd never
and it resurfaced.
Dealt with. It resurfaced. It was like a bunch of things all at once. Went to my primary care to get on a something. I knew I was in trouble. I was having dark thoughts as well. Like, maybe if I just while I'm driving, just right off the road, some very bad thoughts. And I tell him this. He's like, oh, fill out this paperwork. Pretty much it told me I'm chronically depressed. He prescribed me Zoloft, pretty high dose as well. But before that, I had been to the doctor several times, still my primary care, not really having knowledge of there is differences, and not just, I'm not trying to shit on primary care doctors, but I do agree. I feel like it's a little bit out of their scope when it comes to, like, specific psych. Because I had two other doctors that prescribed me. One was Xanax. It made me a walking zombie. And the other was citalopram, which is typically fairly, like, mild for most people, but made me crazy. Like, I just felt even crazier. Then I finally got on Zoloft and whatnot, but the best tools for me were a mixture of my meds with therapy until therapy gave me other coping mechanisms and other tools. And then I tapered off my own SSRIs.
Yeah.
And brain zaps are so real.
They are. It's crazy.
I was at work when it was happening. I had to go home because I was like, I don't even remember what just happened in that room. That's, like, so dangerous. I cannot be here going through brain zaps and, like, coming off SSRIs. But
the detox is really
it's crazy.
Tough.
And, like, I feel like no one really prepares you for that.
No.
Not to scare people on meds. Like, I think meds do serve a purpose for a lot of people, but also, like, it's kind of, you kind of have to date your meds. Just like your therapist, like, it kind of takes a special concoction for each person, and not every med is going to work the same for some people.
I agree.
So it's, like, hard.
Yeah. And moving back to the primary care, I don't mean to shit on them either. I think that it's great that, like, some are very educated and they can handle that stuff. Like, some people get a certification for psych, or they take more education in it. But I think it does need to happen. Like, if you're going to be doing that, you do need to take some classes and, like, really know it if you're going to be tampering around with drugs like that. And not just starting someone on something generic and then like consulting a psychiatrist or a psych NP or something so that they can be managed. Because, like you said, like, there's all kinds of little nitpicky things you can do. It's like an art.
It is an art. And it takes time. And also it takes listening. And it sounds like he wasn't even listening to you.
Right. It was like a 10-minute appointment.
It's so frustrating. It's like, it's frustrating. Like, being a healthcare worker, we understand, like, how the, low staffing, high acuity, all the things. But then being the patient, it's so incredibly frustrating, especially in psych. It's like, I wish that there was more we could do.
Me too.
But that's why you're going to psych NP.
That's
right?
really what gave me the passion. I think, like, why I really like to listen to people in the ICU setting with their mental health and, like, the talking and, like, because I lived it.
Yeah. It's real. It's, like, real for them. And you're one person to at least listen to them. Like, that's what I was saying earlier. Like, you probably are making a difference, and you probably have in someone's life because you are just listening to them. And, like, how many of healthcare workers just sometimes are too jaded to, like, actually listen.
Yeah. And I get it. We all have our strengths and, our things, but I think that's definitely my strength. Yeah. So I wanted to pursue it. And tomorrow I take my board, so I hope I pass and I can.
I bet you will.
But I'm also like, my prank, it's so silly to say out loud and I'm still working on it, but my prank call business like is doing really well. Like, I make more money than I would as a psych NP, so I'm like, I'm not really ready to do that yet. But
Yeah.
like, I think it's going to happen soon, but I'm going to play this out as long as I can.
As you should.
Yeah.
If you don't want to talk about this, it's okay, or tell me to cut it. Did you say something about going on tour?
Oh yeah, I might. I'm doing my first stand-up performance in New York.
That is so cool.
I'm really nervous, but I've got maybe like 20 to 30 minutes of a stand-up set wrote.
Okay.
I don't know if I could sell out a show. Like, that depends on if I could headline right away.
Yeah.
But I think I could at least book some places.
I think you could sell out a show. I'm not just
saying
I
could?
That. I think you are so freaking funny.
Thank
I'm serious.
you.
You're so witty and on your feet. Like,
that's so sweet.
Have more confidence in yourself, because I feel like you could do it.
I'm working on that.
Yeah. I am too. I feel like also just putting yourself out there on social media is hard enough.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like really easy to get in your head about things. Like,
yeah,
I have the same like imposter syndrome thoughts sometimes, and I'm like, I have to really talk myself out of it. Like, it's okay.
I agree.
It's okay.
I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But once I get that tape, I'll, pitch it and see.
Yeah.
But I would love to do a little tour, a little comedy tour.
I'm excited for you. You should let me know your date for the New York one.
Okay.
Yeah, because I would love to come to it.
It's this month.
It's this month?
Mm-hmm.
What's the date?
I can't remember the exact date, but it's like the 20-something.
Okay. Tell me what it is when we know. You said something earlier a little bit about childhood trauma. Are you willing to go into that, or do you know what it was? Or
so my parents divorced when I was like 5, and my dad he struggled with drugs his whole life.
Yeah.
Well, most of his whole life. And he just, like, that kind of inflicted a lot of trauma on me and my sister, because they had split joint custody or whatever you want to call it at the beginning, and I saw a lot of stuff. And then my mom got married, and my stepdad has his own things, but I love him so much. Like, he's great now. But, like, growing up, it was a little bit different.
A little rocky. Yeah.
So, and then we moved. I moved here when I was 9, so I moved away from all my friends and all my family.
Okay.
And, when you have 2 parents with custody of you, and then you move, and one is like, well, you moved 3 hours away, we just can't see each other anymore. That really hurts.
When you're the kid, you're like, well, I'm the one who doesn't have access to a vehicle or the way to come to me. Yeah.
So, like, that's really where the stem of my trauma comes from. I could have had a way worse life. I had a really good, my mom has taken care of me really well.
Yeah.
So I'm really lucky to have a parent that really, gave me stability.
Yeah.
Because some people don't even have that, but
it's funny, like, anyone I talk to, they always say that same thing, like, but it could be worse. And it's like, it's not to say parents didn't try their best or anything, but pain is relative, and like, your pain is still pain, it still hurt, it's still, it might not have been as bad as someone else's, but like, it's still traumatic. Yeah. And so, like, I always bring that up because I feel like sometimes I get DMs or listeners that say the same thing. They're like, well, I shouldn't feel bad because it could have been worse. Yeah. It's like, but that's not really fair, because it's not even like it wasn't your choice in the matter. Like,
right.
If you had your choice, like, it wouldn't have gone that route.
Right. Yeah. I'm glad it did, though, because I have so much content from it.
Yeah. I was going to say, honestly, the funny people, it's because of their background. It's like they've been through some shit. So I don't know. I feel like it makes makes you funnier.
I think so too. Yeah. Like, that's really where a lot of my Sue Dillon stuff comes from. Like, the Quaaludes. I don't know if my dad did Quaaludes, but like, it's just a funny word. But he definitely did a bunch of stuff like Quaaludes.
My dad's a drug addict as well, so they might be friends. I don't know. Who knows?
The sagging tits are like my stepmom. She never wears a bra.
So you take pieces from your whole life and you just make it into Sue Dillon. Yeah. And Spanky.
Yeah. Spanky is just your typical hillbilly deadbeat.
I do have a question. Has anyone ever taken you up on the offers? Like, whenever on Sue Dillon offers,
swinging in the lot lizard. Yes. Like, I don't actually do that. Just disclaimer. But yeah, like, sometimes I'll prank call somebody and say, "Oh, do you want to swing?" And most of the time they're like, "No, that's weird. Why would you ask me that? Like, who are you?" But then sometimes they're like, "Well, maybe send me a picture," and they're not kidding. Like, they're serious. And I'm like, "Oh, okay."
You're like, "Okay, so wait, what's next?"
I don't know what to do, because this is supposed to get a reaction out of them, and they're like, "Okay, I'm down."
It's always men, though, right?
Yeah,
it's always men,
for sure. And then I've catfished some men and felt bad because we form a relationship quickly, and someone has even told me they love me. No. some old man.
That's kind of sad, but at the same time, it's like, come on.
I know.
You gotta know it's not real.
Right. I'm like trying to be so off the wall so that they get it, but then
sometimes you're so like, there was one prank call, which this ended up going really well. And I like that you said, I'll get into it, but you prank called an older lady and she was actually really down on her luck, like within her whole life. And you were like, okay. But you kept your voice the whole time, but you were like, this is a prank. I'm so sorry that I did this. Like you told her on the thing, like this isn't real, because she was like, who would do that to her? Like she was already like really down on her luck, and you ended up getting like a fundraiser for her, and you raised some money for her, and that was like really sweet. But I just thought it was funny because even you telling her that you were pranking her,
she didn't get it.
I was like, that just shows like she's not here right now because she's dealing with so much stuff. Like, let's not prank call those people, but that wasn't your fault. No. I just mean whoever booked that. Like, why would you do that to that lady?
That's in the nature of this. Like, it's hard pill to swallow and it makes me feel bad. But like sometimes I'm gonna get somebody that I shouldn't call.
Yeah, but that's not your fault. That's not what I mean. No. And you made it a good thing. Like, you sent her money. I was just like, oh, like that was really sweet.
I get so nervous when that happens though, because like, I'm glad, like, you're a reasonable person. You get it. Like, you understand the system and, like, that anybody puts whatever in. And they don't always tell me everything going on.
Exactly.
But some people, like, watching, rightfully so, they don't know me. They don't know my stuff.
Right.
And so they're like, oh, my God, this is a bad person. She's just prank calling people that are, like, sick and stuff. Like, the big thing is also somebody just died. Like, oh, they're like, well, my dad just died or my husband just died.
Like, why are we prank calling this person? Like, what? We should be angry at the person that booked that prank call. Right. Like, why would you do that? No, but those are just people online too that just randomly check into your live and they don't know anything about you. And I always say, like, people spin anything out of like a 7-second bit and they'll spin a whole scenario.
They can.
And it's like, that's not even real. Also, none of this is real.
No.
Like, Sue Dillon is not a real person. Believe it or not. It is. I mean, the age app or the age filter is like really good though.
It is.
It does make you look real.
The only thing it is like the hair. Yeah. It kind of glitches on the hair, but it is good.
It's not bad though. And the pictures, like the ones that you post on Instagram, they look real. Real.
What do I use? Facetune or something like that?
They look really good. Well, is there anything else you want to tell people about Sarah or Sue Dillon or anything you want people to know about you?
That's a hard question.
I know. It's like there's multiple things about Sarah.
Yeah. I'm just a pretty boring person, honestly.
No, you're not.
That just does this weird thing. It's always the boring girls. The quiet ones.
No, you're not boring. Well, you said you and your husband are probably going to come out with a podcast.
Yeah, we have one going. It's very small.
Okay, that's okay. It always starts somewhere.
I do have a podcast coming out. I'm very inspired by Lindsay's podcast.
Thank you. Yeah, mine's small really cool. Too. So don't.
It'll blow up.
Thank you. Thank you. Will.
I think it's, everybody's doing podcasts, but I think it's cool that you go to different places. Like, that's very unique.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. I wanted to do something different, but we'll see. Mm-hmm. And it always changes. Like, my mind. First of all, I'm ADHD, so I'll be like, this is a really good idea today, and then tomorrow it'll be something different. And I'm like, okay, I should.
That makes it interesting, though.
Narrow it down. Okay, thanks. Well, where can everyone find you?
I'm on all of the socials, really. I'm on Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. If you want to get to all of those, you can go to my link tree on my TikTok. It's at Sarasota5.
I'll have your links in the bio too. If anyone wants to check her out.
Perfect. And my prank calls are on that link too. Literally anything you want to know about me is there.
I love that. Okay. Well, thank you for letting me have your studio. If you guys want more of Sarah or Sue Dillon, we're going to do a quick little juicy bits over on my Patreon. So go over there and we're going to go through some stories together and just kind of have a little laugh. Okay.
Awesome.
Okay. Bye, guys.